If there is one of the experiences that really changed my mindset and my life is deciding last year to learn Japanese because this experience is teaching me a lot of things about myself and it pushed me to make a lot of changes in my life, which is so surprising to me because I've never thought that starting this side hobby will lead me to question a lot of things about myself and learn so many lessons along the way of this tough journey because learning Japanese is a humbling experience that makes you want to bang your head against the wall so many times. And in today's episode, I will share all of the lessons that I'm learning throughout this process. The first lesson is to start before you are ready and figure out the process later because when I started learning Japanese, it was a very spontaneous decision that I did not even think about. I literally remember me and my sister were talking about her plan of deciding to start learning Korean again. And during the discussion, I told her that if I were given a choice between learning Japanese, Korean, or Chinese, I would choose Japanese because I am interested in the Japanese literature and culture. And she responded, why wouldn't you start? Just do it. And that's what I eventually did. I immediately after we finished our conversation, I downloaded a language app and I grabbed an empty notebook and I started learning Japanese using the app and watching YouTube videos about mistakes to avoid while learning the language and the fun facts to know about the language. And I remember when I started, I was so overwhelmed to the point I thought about giving up because hiragana and katakana used to drive me insane and it took me a week or two to learn them. And if you don't know what is hiragana and katakana, they are part of the Japanese writing system. And looking back at it now, it really proves to me that sometimes it is better to start before making a plan and just figure out the process along the way in order to prevent these negative voices and thoughts in my head from stopping me from starting and just give myself the space to make those mistakes and learn from them because in the past whenever I wanted to start working on a goal of mine I would always try to make the perfect plan and waste weeks of thinking and planning, which made me obsess so much over the plan than taking action, which result of me never starting because I made the process so complicated and the goal began to appear more intimidating and frightening. Plus, I started coming up with excuses to not start because of the doubts and fears that were creeping in my head. And now, whenever I want to start something and I start overthinking it, I try to reassure and remind myself of this experience by telling myself, oh, see? You started learning Japanese without a plan, and you figured out a lot of things along the way, and you overcame so many challenges, and you're still overcoming other challenges along the way, and you can do hard things. So take action, and you will figure out whatever you have to do instead of regretting later on for never starting. And that's what I did with my YouTube channel. I started before being ready. I literally gave myself a deadline of a week to script, record my first video and edit it, and also to make the banner of the YouTube channel and the name and all of that jazz, and figure out what I have to do whenever I struggle with something and make mistakes and learn from them. And even in the book Personality is Not Permanent, the author talked about the importance of putting ourselves in situations that will force us to act and take action by giving ourselves short deadline so we won't have the space to sit down and doubt because we created this sense of urgency where we don't have time to second guess every decision and hesitate. We are pushed to move forward and work with whatever tools we have. And if you are someone who has a goal and your perfectionism is holding you back from pursuing whatever you want to do in life, it is time to start working on the goal you have been procrastinating for so long instead of trying to plan everything ahead so you won't be surprised when you're gonna come across some challenges. And I hate to break it to you, but you can't plan all the challenges because there is some certain challenges that you will face during your journey that were not planned, and trust me, you will figure it out at the end. There is resources online that can help you, and keep in mind that you are only going to progress and build confidence by doing, because you can't expect yourself to be confident about something you've you've never tried and wait for the confidence to come to you. You have to take action to build your confidence. So try to put yourself in situations where you have to figure out what you have to do at that moment, because this will help you to deal with your perfectionism and build experiences that can help you in the moments of doubt to remember that you are capable of overcoming challenges like you have done it in the past. The next lesson is to stop trying to complicate the process and trying to do everything at once and adding things to my to-do list, because at a certain point I will lose my focus and attention, and this is something that happened to me multiple times while learning Japanese and working on other goals, where I kept adding a lot of things which made me more overwhelmed because I have a lot on my plate, and this led me to take a step back and come up with my non-to-do list that includes the things that I don't have to do right now and also the ones that I can do later or they don't deserve my attention at all, and just focus on few things that will help me advance better in my journey, which are listening and improving my vocabulary. This is the only two steps that I'm doing for the moment, and I am focusing only on them because I know they will help me improve in other areas like reading and speaking that I'm gonna start doing at a certain point. And the reason I am telling you this is because maybe some of you are working on something and you are doing way too much and getting nothing, and that is a sign you have to take a step back and think about what are 2 or 3 actions you have to take that will actually help you improve. And if you don't know how to do so, you can ask people in your life or look online for an answer. Also try to make a no to-do list which includes tasks that you can delegate to someone and also tasks you can do later, or you don't have to do them because they are not gonna help you achieve the goal. The next lesson is that learning Japanese is increasing my resilience and my tolerance to discomfort, because so far learning Japanese has been one of the hardest goals for me to achieve, because all of the goals that I had in the past, either they were not as challenging as learning Japanese, and I knew that I was able to achieve them and tolerate that short-term discomfort that came with them, or either I never worked on these goals, and even if I did, I stopped because of the challenges that were so out of my comfort zone and I didn't push through them. However, with Japanese, it is different. I am not giving up whenever I have to overcome obstacles during the journey that are so outside of my comfort zone, and I have to find solutions to these obstacles, which is positively impacting my problem solving skills and also my confidence, because whenever I overcome a challenge that was intimidating at first, I feel good about myself and I am like, yes, I can do it, and that gives me motivation to overcome other challenges. And let me give you an example. When I started learning Japanese, I knew that I have to learn kanji, which is part of the Japanese writing system, because I want to be able to read Japanese books. And at the beginning I was so intimidated by kanji, because when I discovered that I have to know 3,000 kanji, I wasn't laughing. I was shocked and scared because I didn't know how will I learn all of it without having to sit down and study each kanji pronunciation and meaning, because I wasn't going to do that. And after brainstorming and trying different things, I came to the solution that I'm gonna study the 100 basic beginner kanji by only knowing their meanings and some of their pronunciation, and then I am going to learn the rest through exposure to words that combine these kanjis together, which will help me to learn it effectively and also develop an intuition around kanji, where if I came across a word that I don't know that combines 2 kanjis that I know, I can either predict the meaning or the pronunciation, or both, it depends. And to develop this ability and intuition, it takes time and consistency and focus and observation to develop links between these kanjis and guess the correct pronunciation, because almost each kanji has two or three possible pronunciations. And what you can learn from this is, if you want to increase your discomfort tolerance, you have to start doing something that is outside of your comfort zone, because it will help you with that, and it will also impact you in other areas of your life because of the growth and the lessons you learned. The next lesson is being mean and speaking low to myself during the process to keep myself accountable by harassing myself whenever I don't finish what I had to do during my Japanese study will not work, and will never, and it won't make me more disciplined. Actually, it made me want to quit and procrastinate and resist doing the work because I was feeling a deep shame for not understanding something or for being slow to learn something, to the point I was having mental breakdowns and I stopped enjoying the process. And that really made me reflect and decide to be more kind to myself when I don't finish everything in my study list or when I don't understand something. And that shift made me want to do it more and keep going and stay consistent and try to adapt that growth mindset of prioritizing getting better, even if it's small, over perfectionism, and try to remember that failure is a part of the journey, and there will be times where I will struggle to understand something or to remember a vocabulary, and it will take time. And this made me to not feel ashamed for not finishing what I had to do and not hold those negative feelings that came with it, which has caused my confidence to drop in the past and believing that I could not do it. And whenever some negative voices are trying to put me down and break my confidence and make me stop, I try to be compassionate more with myself and be more forgiving, because that gives me peace of mind. And if you are someone who does that and think that you need to punish yourself and be mean to yourself to keep yourself accountable and be disciplined, it won't work, because your confidence drops and your brain starts focusing more on your weaknesses and on things you did not achieve over the ones you did achieve, and you enter this state of never feeling satisfied with anything you do, which negatively impacts your self perception. The next lesson is, it has to be hard before it gets easy. Sometimes when we are learning something new or we are working on a goal, we kind of underestimate the difficulty of it, even though we know it is going to be challenging, and we kind of expect the change to be fast, but it takes time and trial and error and slow growth that we don't immediately see and get frustrated with, because we want the instant gratification to our actions, and that can make us feel like we're not making any progress, and that leads some people to get discouraged and quit. And this is something that I'm constantly struggling with in Japanese, the amount of times that I wanted to give up because I did not see any progress. And I started getting frustrated and angry because of the difficulties that I have to face and work on without seeing the instant gratification of my efforts, because I was so delusional in me expecting myself to learn Japanese fast and become fluent in a year. And I found that the best way to deal with these situations is to remind yourself of all the small progresses you've made and to keep track of all the tiny achievements, because they really help you to keep going and stay consistent, and they increase your motivation and confidence because they make you remember that you were able to overcome challenges in the past. And also, try to be patient during these moments of doubt and frustration. And remember, it will get easy with practice and time, because if you want something you've never done before to become your norm and something easy to do, you have to practice and learn from your mistakes. And try to shift your perspective about these difficult moments by seeing them as a growth opportunity where you can learn how to better handle and manage hard times emotionally and discover hidden capabilities you did not know you had, and improve your problem solving skills because you are constantly solving problems and trying to look for ways to handle these challenges, which will positively affect your capacity to adapt to new circumstances and challenges that come into your way. The next lesson is to stop trying to learn so many things at once due to my desire of wanting to learn things fast and get it out on my way fast to move on to something else. And this led me to put a lot of stress and high expectations on myself, where whenever something takes me longer to learn, I get frustrated and annoyed because I have to give it some extra time, and that caused me to find myself not enjoying the process because I wasn't fully present and focused on understanding and learning. I was just focused on finishing a video or a podcast to move on to another one, to mark it as finished on my to-do list, and by the end of the day, I felt like my head was going to explode from the amount of information that I could not even remember, which caused me so much stress, and also it made me waste so much time because I wasn't learning that much. I was just being passive to whatever I was consuming, and I was literally like a zombie. And reflecting on that, it made me take the decision to slow down the process, even though it is not easy because I get annoyed. But I knew that I had to take this step because it really influenced positively my learning journey, and I feel like I am learning so much better and I am paying more attention to whatever I am learning instead of pulling my head into different directions and stay in this non-existent competition where I had to prove to a non-existent audience that I am smart and a prodigy for learning fast. And if you are currently learning a skill, just remember it takes time and slow down so you can appreciate more the process and the information you are learning and grasp it better by reflecting on it to find the gap in your knowledge so you can later on look for books or podcasts or YouTube videos that can help reduce that gap instead of trying to speed up the process by consuming books and videos so fast that you become a passive learner, and this gives you this illusion you are learning something, but you're not. You're just wasting your time and energy. So take your time, consume less, reflect more, ask more questions, and practice more whatever you are learning at the moment before moving on to the next step. And remember that you can't become an expert overnight, even with the existence of ChatGPT. And realizing this really made me change my approach to learning in other areas of my life where I am trying to become a slow learner and take time to understand the topic and grasp it by asking questions and taking notes and writing an essay about whatever I am learning, which made me become more picky about the information I consume and be intentional and focused whenever I learn something because I know I will write an essay about it later and explain it to myself. The final lesson is to always go back to the beginner mindset, and in Japanese it is referred to as shoshin, because sometimes when we are learning something and we become an expert on it and knowledgeable about it, we kind of stop ourselves from challenging our beliefs and learn more about the topic and expand our knowledge by asking questions, and we stay in our comfort zone because we think we know everything, and that's where we stop growing and we reach a plateau where we become rigid to change. And this is something that I noticed myself doing while I am learning Japanese, where sometimes I stay in my comfort zone and I think I finally made it, and I don't try to challenge myself and increase the level of difficulty to improve my level. And even I noticed that I do that in other areas of my life, and that made me decide to take action and ask questions and be a beginner again and question what I know and try to see things from another perspective and increase the challenge. And I encourage you to do the same because we all fall into that trap, and it is important to be aware of it so we can avoid it by trying to question what we know about a certain subject and grow our knowledge. In conclusion, learning Japanese made me more disciplined because it helped me to learn how to regulate my emotions and keep going and stay consistent even if it's just for 10 minutes or 15 minutes every single day, to the point where whenever I want to start something new and I struggle with it, I try to remind myself of the lessons that I learned from learning Japanese and apply them and hype myself up and use it as a proof that I can handle difficulties and I can do whatever I set my mind into. And I hope that you guys learned something new and that this episode encouraged you to start something new and get out of your comfort zone, because growth only happens outside of it.